G'day guys, Ian from Cookie's Critters, and today we are feeding our bearded dragons rodents. Now guys, you did hear me right, we are feeding our bearded dragons rats and mice. Now guys, if you are new to this channel and you haven't already done so, please do us a favour, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications, and we'll kick this off just after the intro. Okay guys, so we are back today with little Ocho. Now, for you guys that are familiar, Ocho is probably one of my best breeding females, and she typically lays around about 6 clutches a year and yielding around about 180 eggs per season. Now, in doing this, it does mean that her fat cells and her fat storage do get severely depleted. And the way that we can manage this is by feeding fatty items such as rodents. Now, before you turn around and say rodents are only for snakes, they aren't for bearded dragons, well, these guys in the wild will hunt and will prey on small rodents. So we like to offer our breeding females rodents about once a week, and specifically after laying her eggs. So a bearded dragon will store its fat in 2 particular places, on the back of their head and at the base of their tail. Now, as little Ocho has laid 4 clutches already this season, her fat storage cells on the back of her head are starting to sink in and become quite depleted. Yes, she looks quite full, but that's possibly because she has another clutch of eggs already in her belly. Now, we can manage this by giving her high fat items and a high protein diet to replenish her fat storage. Now, this is important obviously for her overall health, but also for her egg production as well. And so as a treat, we offer our male bearded dragons a rodent about once a month. Now, when I say it is a treat, it's part of their varied diet, but it is a good source of enrichment for them, and it is also a good sense of oral hygiene, so dental hygiene. Chewing and ripping through those bones is a good way to remove tartar buildup and therefore prevent any kind of dental disease. Now, other considerations for feeding your bearded dragons rodents is if you are rescuing animals and the animal is undernourished and underweight, or if your animal has been sick and has been receiving a course of antibiotics, typically a dragon that is on antibiotics will go off its food and therefore lose body conditioning. Now, feeding things like rodents, superworms, silkworms, hornworms, all those kind of things, high in fat, do put on weight at an accelerated rate. It is ideal and it is a great way to get your bearded dragon back to a healthy weight range. Now guys, you do need to monitor it as they are high in fat. If you give your dragon rodents too often, they will become obese.
Get in my belly!
Okay guys, let's roll into some footage of our bearded dragons eating some rodents. Okay guys, so as you can see, some of the rodents in here are fuzzy mice, and they do have a bit of body hair on them already. Now, it's important to minimize the amount of body hair on a rodent that we are feeding to our bearded dragons, because things like animal hair, human hair, and even fibers from fabric can cause an impaction in a bearded dragon. So the ideal choice when it comes to feeding your bearded dragons some rodents are things like your pinky mice, your pinky rats, and your velvet rats. Now, typically my snake feeding day also corresponds with the day that I feed my bearded dragons some rodents. Obviously, I'm already defrosting rodents for my snakes. It doesn't take much to throw a couple extra in the bag to feed my bearded dragons. So guys, it is super important at this stage that we do adhere to food quarantine standards. We don't want to cross-contaminate items from animal to animal. So, like I said, I feed my snakes and my bearded dragons rodents on the same day, but I'm not going to feed a rodent to a bearded dragon that a snake has rejected. Vice versa, I'm not going to feed a rodent to a bearded dragon that another bearded dragon has rejected. Even if it's just come in contact with their substrate, I never feed an item of food off to another animal that's been already rejected. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please do hit that like button. If you haven't already done so, subscribe and turn on those post notifications. While we're at it guys, if you do have some feedback, please do leave it down in the comments below. Guys, until next time, if you've got them, keep your beard treated, your beardies heated.